Hi, it's Karen here from the Hyperlinked Library MOOC, and this is our final assignment for the MOOC, the symposium, and I would like to highlight my top 10 reflections and learnings from the MOOC. So my first reflection is go where the people are. Now this is something I already heard about, however it sort of reiterated it for me in the MOOC. So Michael mentioned in one of his lectures that only a very small number of people actually come to your library website. So it's important that we go out where those people are. So whether that's Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr or Goodreads, Pinterest, Instagram, it could be anywhere. And it might not always work, but at times it means we can draw people in and people can discover our services that they didn't know actually existed. So it's really good to kind of go where those people are. Now, my second reflection is convince others of your worth. Now, we all know we're worthy, but we need to show that off to others, like this peacock is doing. So I actually work in a public library environment, so we do really need to show counsellors and council workers exactly what we do, because there is that real stereotype that you go to the library for books and books only and it's all shushing. So I think Michael Casey did mention that you need to bring up some statistics about your library service, which I think is great, and I love statistics and I love looking at them. Since hearing that lecture and that interview, I've also been thinking of other ways to do it. So I was thinking about doing some tech talks in my library specifically for council staff, so they can come in and hear about some new technology, maybe find out how to download an ebook so they actually know we have them, and possibly do something like a Web 2.0 course specifically for council workers, because this not only shows off what we can do and can show off some of our collections and services, but it will also show them how we can play an active role in council and how we can help councillors and council staff. So my third reflection was build, measure, learn. I love this because we tend to be in some kind of society where we're told we have to succeed all the time. Whereas in the Hyperlinked library, when there's all these new technologies coming up, I think it's really good that we can build and then evaluate that and then learn from our mistakes. So we can fail and learn from that. So I think it's really important to come up with an idea, build it like this boy is building with his building blocks, and work out what actually worked in it, what didn't work, and then maybe learn and evolve that idea into something better. Sometimes the idea will just not work, and then it takes a lot of courage, but we have to just let it go. It may not mean that it was a bad idea. It may mean that the world just isn't ready for it yet. I think a good example of that was maybe Second Life. That may be virtual worlds may just become a really big thing again in the future. It just didn't quite work out now. Now my fourth reflection is to create a plan. Now I do create plans all the time. A lot of people do for different programs and services. But in doing the assignment around plan making, I realised that I'm actually not that good at it. I really need to be better at it. So it's important to create a plan that will take into account all the risks you might face and to look at the stakeholders and how you might communicate with them. It's good to get them involved on it too. And you can discover so much more. And as I was mentioning, when you have to show yourself off, a plan is a good way to show the kind of outcomes you're looking for in library services. And as this light bulb shows, you focus on the customer, so you can bring it back in and really revolve a plan around a customer service or patron or user. So they're really worthwhile putting the time and effort into, and I'm really aiming to do more of that and practice doing more of it. So my fifth reflection was be transparent. Now I've taken this screenshot from my library's blog, where I recently changed my avatar to be a photo of me, so I seem more accessible to people. Now I only had this idea after looking at that module about transparency, and I really want to get the discussion going with other library staff about whether they feel comfortable doing the same. I think when we're creating online communities, which is a big part of this MOOC, we really need to be a person to our users. I loved looking at Christchurch's Twitter account, as Michael brought up in his last lecture, and seeing how they've got a face to a name on there. I mean, we're not just that silent librarian walking around shushing people, we're actually people too. Now I know there is a limit with that. You don't want your entire life being known by everyone. I certainly don't, but I think it really helps for people to know the human side of us. Now, my sixth reflection is to focus on the user experience. Now, I've taken this screenshot from my library's catalogue, and I work quite a lot on this page. But what I'd really like to do is self-assess, so go through and look at where I could change words. I mean, I've got online resources there. Do people know what online resources are? Is there a better term I can use for it? Is it easy to find information in here? So I really need to look at all sorts of things. I was going to do this exercise in a branch library, but being an online branch librarian, I thought it's probably better to actually look at it myself. I would also like to put a few surveys out and questionnaires for some of our users or patrons or customers to have their say in what they think, and do some user testing to know if this is easy to understand. Now, my seventh reflection, we need to get mobile, which should be fairly obvious. When we were asked to think about what we actually use our mobiles for, I just thought I use it for so many things. It's like a life tool for me. The news, my social networking, I check the weather on there. I do so much on there. Sometimes I make phone calls every now and then. And I think it's important for us to try and create apps, or at least mobile-friendly versions of our library sites, and to get some mobile-friendly or versions or apps of some of our maybe online resources to make it easier for people. As I was saying in my first reflection, we need to go where the people are, and I think this really sat with me that the mobile is where the people are, so we really need to go there and see what we can do there. In saying that, we need to make sure our apps work and that they are easy to navigate, because that is so frustrating, and it's almost worth not having if your app doesn't work. So my eighth reflection is develop makerspaces. I thought this was really, really cool what libraries are doing, because it's starting to look like we're not just providing information or helping people find information, we're also allowing them to create their own information. And there's quite a bit of community building around here. People can help each other to learn. So I loved what some of the libraries were doing, and I'd really like my library to do something similar, and I think we are. And I just saw this site which kind of showcases a lot of what different libraries are doing, and I think that's fantastic. And there's also things we can put online about our makerspaces, how to make this robot, how to make that, anything. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I think it's a great area for us to encourage creation and that sense of creativity in libraries. In saying that, my ninth reflection is work with both consumption and creation. So that was just one of the points I remember reading about. And I thought, yep, we are focusing a lot on digital and content creation because they are new and upcoming things, but I'm hoping that it's not at the expense of people that might just want to consume. There are still people who want to come to the library or work online and consume their books, consume what they find on the computer. They don't want to necessarily create. I don't think there's one that's necessarily more important than the other between consumption and creation. I just think we need to cater for both, which will be a bit of a challenge, but I think we can do that. Now, my 10th reflection is one of my favourites. Sometimes reflection can be the best educator. Now, Michael brought this up in one of the readings in his blog post, and he mentioned that he prefers this sort of reflection over an exam because he finds students get more out of it, and I can't agree more. If you asked me anything about past exams, I probably would have forgotten them. And it goes back a bit to rote learning, when you kind of remember things, regurgitate them, and then leave. Reflection, while it's a bit more informal, it forces you to go back over things and revise them, but also apply them to your own situation and your own library. I've had a lot of good ideas while writing my blog for this MOOC. Just while I'm writing, I come up with something that I can use in my library, and I'm already creating plans for them and looking at how to implement those ideas. And after this MOOC's finished, I'm really hoping to create my own blog or keep going with a blog of some form. Yeah, I would like it if people commented on it, because one great thing about people commenting is it helps to generate new ideas and get some discussion going, which is really, really useful. But even if it's just for myself, just to keep as a form of journal, to keep me thinking and creating and coming up with new ideas, it was extremely useful and I loved doing it. So they are my 10 major points. Thank you very, very much for listening and watching. If you'd like to keep talking with me after this MOOC is finished, I am on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I would really like to keep connecting with all of you. Thank you.